Conference will now be recorded.
All right, I have 1 o'clock. I think we're about ready to get started. I appreciate everyone showing up and the candidates as well. Just a few things to get through before we get started. Um, we all know we're going through a bylaw vote at the moment, so we will have more information of the candidate positions as we wrap up that bylaw vote, which ends on the 4th. This is not a debate. This is a question and answer format. So we're asking that the audience, when we open it up to the audience, you keep it to one question. There will be a response from a candidate, and then we'll move on to the next question. If we have time, we will do a circle around and get 2 questions in. If you're online, please just submit your question on the chat, and Darlene will read it for us. And again, we would like to thank the candidates for showing up, and we want to take a moment to introduce all the candidates and tell us why we should vote for you on the board of directors. John, you want to start off?
Can you hear me now? All right. I'm not going to stand up for every answer because I've got a head operation on my foot, so I apologize ahead of time. I'm running for the board because I want the best for this place. We came here 21 years ago, hearing a promise of a wonderful place to spend the last chapters of our lives, and we want to see that promise fulfilled. We have some issues. Communications is a big one. I'm on the communications committee, and that committee is struggling with how to solve some of the communications problems. They're looking at things like a website and a TV, and they've also gone out to other HOAs to learn what the best practices are. And so there's some creativity going on, and it looks good. The board has worked to set up a process for being prepared to make decisions at the board meeting. So we've added an extra week, and that gives us as board members time to do diligence. And so for myself, I promise to be ready at those board meetings to vote yes or no. And if I can't vote yes or no, if I don't have enough information, I'm going to go back to the committees and find out that information before the board and maybe postpone that, because it's just a waste of time and it sends a wrong message back to the committees that they're not doing the right job, and it's kind of discouraging to them. So that's a promise that I give you. I'll be prepared for the board meetings and decisions. And in terms of goals, I want to establish an atmosphere of love and respect for each other. I want to prepare for the future. We have a lot of aging amenities and facilities that we need to address. We just can't keep sweeping them under the board. So the board's going to have a lot of hard decisions to make, and we have to work together in unity to do that. And a divided board or fractured board is hard to work with and make decisions on. So I want to fulfill the promise of happy trails and all the promises that I heard when we moved here.
Thank you, John. Connie?
Hello, I'm Connie Faulkner. My husband and I, Dan, we came here in October of 2011. We rented for 2 years, and then we bought our present home in 2013. We love Happy Trails, and we did at the very beginning. All of the friendly waves and smiles that we got, all the amenities that we have, we both just enjoy. My husband loves to golf, and I like to putt. I feel I'm qualified for the board position because of my work experience, 37 years with Weyerhaeuser. During the last 17 years of those 37 years, I became an active member in the safety program and was eventually elected as the safety committee chair. I ran meetings, I wrote programs, but mostly I learned people want to be heard and like to know their concerns are going to be addressed. When I first moved here, I volunteered as a cook in the chuck wagon, and I worked for activities for a couple of years, and currently I am the treasurer of Lady Putters, and I'm on the golf course relation committee. I'm running for the board because I want to offer my experience, which is very little in business, and a different perspective. I look forward to working with the current board members and maintaining and updating Happy Trails in order to make it vibrant. As a new board member, I will follow the lead of my counterparts, but I have no problem with voicing my concerns, asking questions, and making decisions that are best for our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Connie. Becca?
Hi, I'm Becca Paulson. I've been here for 5.5 years. I have to say I love this community, and I want to see it go back to the way it was, where everybody kind of gets along, and I'd like to see some of the divisiveness resolved at some point. I previously was on the board for 3 years. I believe our board did a good job. We accomplished a lot. And I've now been off for almost a year, and I just felt like I still had more to contribute, and I wanted to run again. I'm a retired CPA. I worked in the California State University system for over 25 years as an associate vice president for finance. And so as far as the financial aspects of our HOA here, I think I can actually contribute quite a bit. I've served on the finance committee the whole time I've been here, whether a liaison or a committee member. And I've belonged to several clubs. I've served as treasurer for a couple of clubs. And I just look forward to serving you more over the next 3 years.
Good afternoon. My name is Terry Jancourt, lot 2357. The wife and I have been here on our 9th year now. This is our only home. We're full-time. We're very active in the community. We used to volunteer for the Chuck Wagon as well, and all the other different clubs that we belong to. I'm currently on the Pony Express and various other places, Sawmill. I'm a foreman. I ran only because I think you need a voice. Our voices aren't heard very readily by the board as it is. That's just my personal opinion. They don't listen enough to you. And that's my major reason for running. The community is great. The neighbors are fantastic. We got the best block in the park. But they all know that. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. Chuck?
I'm Chuck Harvey. I want to continue on the board. I've been on the board for a short period and want to continue representing the owners, not just the special groups or anything else. I have at least 17 years with the city of Phoenix in the public sector, so I do know how agendas need to be done, how they're supposed to be posted, and any understanding that if somebody has a question during a council meeting and this kind of stuff, that they're welcome to answer it because they already have the information. I'm also a firm believer. I do not believe in the U-shape layout that the board members have. I've never seen that in a public sector. It's always basically the way this is. And I think that always a board member always needs to face the audience. And I'm also willing to meet one-on-one or in small groups. I have done it in the past. I actually met with some people again this morning at my lot when they went by. I talked to them about some concerns they had. So I like to continue that process for the next 3 years.
I'm Greg Sherman. Debbie and I moved here 4 years ago. When we got here, we kind of jumped into the resort with both feet, using the pool, using pickleball. I'm the president of the Pet Club. We did a lot of work over there. I ran a landscaping business for 40 years, so I have a good background in construction and running the business, making sure that we're not spending more than we're making. And so I think I'd just be a good asset for the resort.
All right. Thank you guys very much. We'll start into some of the questions that I got via email, and then we'll take a quick 5-minute break, and then we'll get to audience and online questions. So these next questions are going to be for all of you guys. We'll start with Greg and then work our way down, and then we'll rock around the posy as we will. First question is, what specifically will you do to be a team player and support the majority decision of your fellow board members? And what will your response be when asked about a majority vote of the board that you did not agree with?
Well, if the majority of the board decides something that I don't agree with, that's just the way it is. And so they can just, things move forward from there. There's no discussion after that point. I will try to put my point out. If they're trying to go 6% again this year, then I'm definitely going to say, no, I don't want that. But if they voted in, then that's the way it goes.
Thank you. Chuck?
I believe that every board member should have an independent vote. There should be no collaborations during a board meeting. But under the code of conduct, basically, once the board has made a decision, the board has made a decision, and we have to abide by it.
Thank you. Terry?
I think everybody on the board should have an independent thought process. Besides that, they should be voting the will of the community, not the individual. Because the majority of the community should have a say on how things are run.
I agree that all board members should state their opinion, no matter what that opinion is, for, against, or otherwise. And when they vote, but when a decision is made, then everyone on the board needs to support that decision. The time for discussion is done. You've made your points. We've listened to the community. The majority rules on the board. So once the decision is made, you need to support that decision 100%.
Thank you. Connie?
I will support the board for those that are unanimous. We've all talked about it and we've decided this is the way to go. But I too want to hear from you, my fellow residents, because there's a lot of things in here that we need to do. We need to update. We need to agree on everything. And if I have 4 or 5 people come to see me, each one of those is going to have a different opinion. And so it's hard to get a consensus unless you get a big group of people. But I agree with, I will agree with the board, even though I may not like the decision we had to make, but I will understand it well enough to bring it back to you and explain.
This board is, and let me address team players. When you have 7 people on a team, everybody brings something to that team, and everybody has a strength and talents and abilities, and we ought to, as a team, try to figure out how we can make best use of those experiences and those talents, and work together to make decisions to do what's right for the community. And once we've made the decision, then it's made. We should follow the code of conduct in every way, especially in supporting the decisions of the board, and not second guessing or in any other way undermining that decision. We have to follow the code of conduct.
Thank you guys very much. Next question up is again for everyone, and we'll start off with Chuck this time. What do you think is the most important amenity at Happy Trails?
The important amenity is the facilities and the community itself, and the structure of the structure of the community with all its clubs and amenities.
Thank you. Terry?
The biggest amenity here is the people, the camaraderie, and obviously the clubs. There's a lot of great clubs, and everybody helps everybody. It's a great place to be. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else.
Thank you.
I have to agree. The most important amenity is our community and the friendships we've developed. And I mean, we have lots of things to do here. But when we first came here 5.5 years ago, the thing that impressed me most was how friendly everybody was. Very open, very friendly, said this is a great place to be. And I think that's our most important asset, essentially, because I think that's why most of us come here.
I also agree that the community is the greatest asset that we have, but we have good leadership also, and all the fun things that we are able to do here through the committees that we have. And I enjoy, sometimes I'm just sitting at home thinking, oh, you should get up to the craft club and do something and see people. And that is the one thing that's so nice here, is that you can go anywhere and visit with whoever. And after 13 years, you pretty well are able to recognize most of the faces.
Happy Trails is a no stress zone. The only time that I really get stressed out is realizing, I've got 3 choices. I can go here, here, or here, and then I get stressed out because I'm going to miss 2 of those 3. There are so many things to do here. The facilities and the amenities of the Happy Trails Association are geared really to the lifestyle that I think all of us want. We want to be engaged with each other, doing things that we like to do together, and supporting each other, and being able to do that into the future. And that was one of the promises that I heard when I came here. You can really enjoy yourself in this stage of life. Just think about it. Where else would you want to be?
Thank you very much. And I do want to remind you, John, to hold that microphone higher up. John, when you hold it higher up. Your hand covers the antenna that way. There you go. Perfect. We're good though.
What was the question, Ian?
We're going to ask it right now.
You're
Okay.
going to let me speak first.
What's that?
The most important amenity to me is the pack. Debbie and I come here every Sunday and get to listen to Pastor Jim and Pastor John, and it's super important to us. Of course, the dog park is really important to me, and I love that. But Debbie and I use the pools and the pickleball courts, and our neighbors use the tennis courts. So, all of the amenities and the buildings and the new streets are awesome. They're not bumpy. And, so just the resort in general.
Thank you, Greg. My next question again is for everybody. We'll start off with Terry. Do you support increasing the annual maximum amount our regular assessment can go up? And if so, to what maximum amount?
No, I do not. 6% is plenty. At this point, it's double the typical inflation rate. And I don't believe we need to go up unless finances dictate. But it doesn't have to be a permanent thing.
Thank you, Terry. Becca?
I agree. I'd like to leave it at 6% forever or go lower if we can, but reality shows that we're still catching up. We're catching up from when they never increased fees. We're catching up from inflation when it was 9%. There are things still today that are costs. Insurance is a big one. Salaries, benefits, medical for all our employees, they're going up. That doesn't necessarily mean it's included in the CPI that we see at 2% or 3%. So reality dictates that at some point we may have to go over the 6%. We obviously would like to keep it below. We also have facilities that need to be refurbished. If we want this to be a nice resort, people have to be open to the possibility of our fees going up. And frankly, I would like to see at some point, and nobody's going to like this, but I'm going to say it anyway because my background's in finance. I would like to see us change the CCNRs to show that we can go up to 10% if necessary.
Thank you. Connie?
I'm not really sure one way or the other. I know the 6%, I was complaining when we got our last 6% raise. And there's a lot of people in here that are on a very fixed income. And I don't want to overprice this to the point where they have to move or leave. But if the finances shows that we need to do a raise in our dues, then maybe we should look at what the cost of living is and be according to the cost of living, raise it to that point.
Thank you, Connie. John?
Unless there's a good reason, I see no reason to increase it above 6%. I think that's sufficient for the near future, but nobody has a crystal ball.
Thank you, John. Greg?
No, I wouldn't agree that raising it above 6%. We should be charging just the rate of inflation. Remember, we just put new roads, new roofs, so that kind of puts a dent in our reserves. But at this point, if we stop spending, get real frugal, then we can start putting money away. The resort looks like it's in good shape to me. And I see new people moving in, and Debbie and I, when we moved here, we absolutely loved it. And that was just 3 years ago.
Thank you, Greg. Chuck?
I have to agree with Greg. No way going up anything above 6% at this point in time.
All righty. Thank you. Now Terry started off, and Becca, we'll start off with you this time. Given that the HomeCo contract is coming to an end in 2026, the company has poor public reviews. What is your stance on seeking a more effective management company that better serves our resort?
You're going to have to say the last half of that because I can't understand what you're saying. I heard about the HOA. It's coming. The contract is due.
The HomeCo contract is coming to an end. The company has poor public reviews. What is your stance on seeking a more effective management company that better serves our resort?
Thank you. I think we should look around. I think we should get some bids, see what other companies can offer us. We've had HomeCo for a very, very long time. I don't know that they're the best company. I can't say that because we haven't looked at other companies. So I think it would behoove us to do that. Now it'll be quite the process. I mean, we may have to extend the contract for a year while we're looking. If you're going through an RFP process, it takes quite a bit of time. The other thing I mean, we have no idea what other companies charge. It would be a good idea to find out and see what services they offer compared to what their prices are. Everything should be reviewed every 3 years regardless. And I think we've had Homeco since 90 something. So indeed, it's time to look at other companies and see what's available.
Thank you, Becca. Connie?
I agree with Becca. It is, Homeco has been here, like everybody said, for a long period of time. Seems like they're very comfortable with what we give them and listen to them. And as they are our employees, I think that we need a little bit better results than what we get. So I would be for looking at different companies.
Thank you, Connie. John?
When I came on the board in August, I was approached by somebody who's lived here a long, long time, and we had a long discussion about this. Went over the contract and thought about it. I've been thinking about it for a long time. You know, as a board member, I want to do what's best for the association, and my allegiance is to the association. I think it's time that the board appointed an ad hoc committee to look into possible alternatives and get an RFP out and find out what's available for what price, under what terms and conditions, and then we can make a wise decision about going forward. Personally, I don't see a lot of problems with Homeco, but there are some issues, but we're going to have that with any company. But the due diligence for the association, it's time that we took this step and looked into it, see what's out there, and make an assessment, and then move forward based on the information and facts that we gather.
Thank you, John. Greg?
Absolutely, we should check out other property management companies. When I was running my business, I worked for several different property management companies. And Homeco here has had kind of a severe problem with their employees and people being able to contact them, getting responses back from them. And even by checking on another company, it might bring Homeco a step up to know that we're willing to actually look for somebody else. So absolutely, we should check.
Thank you, Greg. Chuck?
I'll have to agree with Greg at this point. We need to do our due diligence and look at other companies, but not only with Homeco, but with all our contracts. I think the board is responsible to review all term contracts, no matter what they are, to determine if they're meeting our specifications. And being in a public sector, doing an RFP, our RFPs where I worked at least took a year to 18 months from the time you write the scope and make sure that everybody is happy with the terms, the scopes and the statements of work, from evaluation committee and going out and interviewing them. It usually took about a minimum of 12 months.
Thank you, Chuck. Terry?
I also think that we need to look at that, just like anything, insurance and so forth. The providers don't always look at our best interest. They're looking at the bottom line. So we have to look at our own bottom line, get out there and do some searching and find out who can give us the biggest bang for our buck.
Thank you, Terry. Next question for all you guys. We'll start off with Connie. There are rules for residents' conduct at all monthly board meetings. If the same rules for residents' conduct would be applied, would candidates be willing to bring back the We Are Listening sessions? One more time. So there are rules for resident conduct. There are rules for resident conduct at all board meetings. If those same rules apply to resident conduct at We Are Listening sessions, would the candidates be willing to bring those back?
Yes, if the rules are the same for them as they are for us, yes.
Thank you, Connie. John?
My hearing aids are not working well. Can you repeat that, please?
If the same resident conduct, give me 1 second. If the same resident conduct rules applied at the board meetings as the We Are Listening sessions, would you,
Contact?
conduct, the
Conduct.
resident
Okay,
conduct,
all right.
correct. Would you be willing to bring back the We Are Listening sessions?
Oh, yeah. I mean, why wouldn't our expectations be higher than what we expect from others? So, yes.
Thank you, John. Greg?
Yes, absolutely. That I'm not fond of the 2 minutes. Sometimes people need a little more than that. And so, you know, the open meeting idea that used to be around when I went to those meetings, it was fun, and you got a lot of really valuable information from a lot of really intelligent people, which helped, you know, shape the entire meeting. So, yeah, absolutely. And it wouldn't even necessarily have to be the same rules. It's just so that we could meet with them. So, yes.
Thank you, Greg. Chuck?
Yeah, I have to agree that we would bring back the We Are Listening, but also understand that We Are boards, we can meet with somebody individually or in small groups. So I don't, you know, the We Are Listening for large groups, if people are afraid to talk in large groups, then stop by and talk to one of the board members individually also.
Thank you. Terry?
Yeah, like Chuck said, we need to be talking to people. And the conduct for us should be exactly the same. Respect, that's the biggest key. Listen.
Thank you, Terry. Becca?
I agree that we should bring back the We're Listening sessions. I believe they were very helpful when I was on the board, and it does give a different venue for people to air their concerns, grievances, whatever it might be, because it's a smaller group. I think a lot of times they turned into kind of gripe sessions, which that's fine. But I'd like to see them be a little more respectful than they were when we had them. I think they served a purpose because people, I'm hoping, felt heard. It wasn't necessarily the whole board there. There was usually 3 of the board members maybe attending, but I think they served a valuable purpose.
Thank you. All right. Next question, and we'll start off with you, John. How do you plan to address accountability at the guardhouse regarding unauthorized access to the resort? And that was for you, John. You can start off.
Accountability at the guardhouse for
Unauthorized access.
unauthorized access to the facility.
Correct.
Grounds. Well, what are the facts first? What are specific examples of it happening? How did it happen? And then address that through policy and procedures. Look at orient that to the operations of the staff and applying the applicable governing documents as to who can come in and how. I think that keeping people out is going to be impossible. I mean, you can walk into Happy Trails from the golf course. So, but tailgating and obvious means of coming in via the roads and that sort of thing should be stopped. But that also puts accountability on us because if we allow somebody to follow us in, then who's really at fault?
Thank you, John. Greg?
Accountability at the guardhouse. Obviously, it sounds to me like you're suggesting that maybe a guard had allowed somebody in on the process. So that seems easy, just to remove the guard. That's the quickest way to handle accountability. But the guardhouse could also do a better job of making sure that the people come in to the restaurant have more of a timestamp kind of thing, so that we can, if they're not back within an hour or so, maybe someone can come and look for them, and so we don't have people wandering around on the property.
Thank you, Greg. Chuck?
Basically, I would like to see the incident reports and this kind of stuff, and then also review the policies and procedures and the documentation that the employee is supposed to be following, and making sure that they're assured that they are following the procedures to the letter. And if not, then either we need to change that policy if it's an ongoing issue, or move forward with some kind of a discipline with the staff.
Thank you, Chuck. Terry?
The policies and procedures should dictate how that's handled up there. If the guards aren't doing what they should be doing, management should take a hand in it and find out why and correct the situation. The timestamp scenario is a good idea, especially for the pink slips. So when you see one around the facility, they see the time on there, and if they've been here several hours, we know they're not just sitting at the restaurant.
Thank you, Terry. Becca?
I do believe that the policies and procedures need to be reviewed. I don't know of any specific instance. I assume there are some, or the question that would not have come up. The other thing is possibly revamp some of the procedures. I don't know. I'm not familiar enough with the guardhouse or patrol for exactly what they do all the time, other than check when people are coming in. Also, I have heard that they're going through an audit right now of the transponders, which I think is an excellent idea. People change cars, they sell cars, they get new cars. If the transponders are not followed with the car, or who has the car or whatever, that creates a problem. And that could allow unauthorized people coming in. So I would like to, I think it's in process, and I would like to see that completed and see actually what comes out of it.
Thank you, Becca. Connie?
I agree with both Becca and Chuck. First of all, the policies and procedures need to be followed. It's really hard to keep people out of our community because of the open access from the golf course. We have the chuck wagon that's open to the public. We have vendor days. So, and we have church that outside people that live in different areas come to. So the most important thing is, if there is definitely a threat from someone, that we call the guard check, and then they can call the police.
Thank you, Connie. Next question, and we'll start off with Greg. What are your thoughts on the frequent outages affecting our pools and spas?
Well, obviously, we want those held to a minimum. So if we have outages going on, then obviously, like I said yesterday, Bradley, that kind of lands on your lap to make sure that we have some sort of a maintenance program, making sure that the pumps and the heaters are working properly on a constant basis.
Thank you, Greg. Chuck?
I'm a firm believer of preventative maintenance, service contracts. If a company comes in and determines that maybe there's something going about ready to go off, that they have parts and services available to even keep the downtime as minimum as possible. But a service agreement that we've done in the past when I was working for the city also prevents that, in the sense that we pretty much know what parts are going out and what services that need to be done. And if it needs to be repaired, we have a company coming in to take care of it as a priority and not just a secondary.
Thank you, Chuck. Terry?
Yeah, maintenance scenario all the time. Service contracts, a good idea. Yeah, it's going to cost some money, but it could save us money in the long run. So you got to look at both aspects of it and go with what's best for the community, what's going to keep us up and running, because people depend on those amenities.
Thank you, Terry. Becca?
First of all, our amenities, our pools, lots of things here are old. So not only do we possibly need service contracts, which are expensive, we need to look at a schedule of replacing some of our items here. That's the only way to keep them from breaking, is when their useful life is done and we're starting to have problems, they need to be replaced. I know people don't want to hear that again, but that is the reality. Service contracts are a good idea, but when you have an old asset, it doesn't mean it's going to help us a whole lot, because it will continue to break.
Thank you, Becca. Connie?
I agree with Becca. I love using the pools, and when the main pool is out of service, that's where our families can go. And if it's out of service because the heater's broke again, then they start to question our accountability. And when we, if we have a service contract, we need to hold them accountable to that service contract, even if they have to come in 3 or 4 times, rather than just replace them with a different company that we don't know real well. I think we need to use the ones that we have hired and then stay on them and make sure that they do a quality job.
Thank you, Connie. John?
If you buy a car or an air conditioner for your house, you're going to have, to be wise, you're going to have a periodic maintenance, and you're going to invest in that asset to make sure that the longevity of its life cycle gives you value for your money. Towards the end of that, though, you start making assessments about cost benefit. And I think we've developed a checklist for the committees to use. And one of the questions on that checklist is, have you done a cost benefit analysis of the cost of this versus the benefits? And that will be very informative and instructive and help the committees make the right kind of recommendations to the board, and give us best value for money. There's going to come a time when it's more cost effective to replace that whole air conditioner than it is to replace the coil, when the coil costs a quarter of the value or a half of the value of that asset. So there's a knee in that curve, and finding that knee will help us leverage and make the most of our money.
Thank you, John. Next question, we'll start off with Chuck. What is your take on the overall cleanliness of the resort and the issue of work orders being submitted without resolution?
Overall, I would say that our cleanliness is good. My major concern is that they maintain their core functions of the cleanliness and the landscaping, and not add any additional work by committees and this kind of stuff to go out and do additional work, but they maintain the core functions that were established. As for the work orders, I'm not quite sure, because every work order I've submitted has always been responded and has been taken care of. And if there's issues, if somebody has issues with work orders, they can go to management. If they don't believe that management is taking care of it, then talk to one of the board members and they can take a look at it for them.
Thank you, Chuck. Terry?
I find that the maintenance and the housekeeping personnel in our facility is top notch. They do a great job with what they have. The resort's always clean. The work order scenario, the ones that I've ever turned in, if they weren't fixed, I've gone to management and they've had it done the next day. So they're taken care of in a very timely fashion.
Thank you, Terry. Becca?
I want to, first of all, just commend all of the employees here. Housekeeping is fabulous. I've never walked into a restroom and had any problem whatsoever there, or the showers. I don't use the showers, but they're clean. I think landscaping does a good job. They keep things up, better so in the last few years than when I first came here. And I think maintenance does a good job. They're a good team. They work very well together. They have to do a little bit of everything, and they're most willing to do that. So I have no issues with any of the staff doing anything here. If there is a work order that seems to have gotten lost in the shuffle, it either should be brought to management's attention, or again, if one of the board members, and see if we can get it resolved. I don't personally know of any that were not completed.
Thank you, Becca. Connie?
I think Happy Trails has a very, very clean and beautiful atmosphere outside and inside. The maintenance and the housekeepers, they do a wonderful job. The bathrooms are clean. All of our shrubs and stuff are well kept, and they blow down everything and get it out of our way so that we don't trip as older people. And I think that they do an excellent job.
Thank you, Connie. John?
Well, I think that the staff, the landscapers, everybody who's working on our behalf should hear our hearts of gratitude and feel good about what you're doing, because you're doing a great job.
Thank you, John. Greg?
Yes, I think that the property is in clean shape. We don't have any issues in the pet park. The landscapers come in and they mow and blow, and they keep it real nice for us. The streets and the bedding areas around the property are always clean and tidy, and the buildings always seem like they're in good shape. Windows and ledges, and so I'm fond of what's happening here.
Thank you, Greg. I think we'll start off with Terry now. How do you propose to reduce attorney fees if elected? Year to date, we have paid $65,414 and only budgeted for $40,000. How do you propose to reduce attorney fees if elected? Year to date, we have paid $65,414 and only budgeted for $40,000.
That's a good question. I'm not a financial whiz, and I haven't been keeping up on what's going on in that respect. But if we're at a downfall, obviously we may have to do an extra kick in order to bring up the downfall.
Thank you, Terry. Becca?
I'm not sure why attorneys' fees are so high this year. Not being on the board, I'm not involved with what's going on. There seems to be lots of litigation for whatever reason. I don't know what it's about. Attorneys' fees are one of those things that can go up, they can go down, they can go up. It just depends on the circumstances and what's happening each and every year. I don't like it that it's so high. For 2 prior years, when I was on finance committee, the fees had come down quite a bit. Now they're back up this year. I don't know why. It's kind of one of those things, unfortunately, that we cannot control all the time. Now, there may be times we can use another avenue and not go to legal and pay several $100s per hour, but I don't know that. But I would like to see us look maybe at other avenues, possibly use HomeCo, although they don't have legal expertise. Maybe they can help us resolve some of the issues that are being sent to legal.
Thank you, Becca. Connie?
Would you repeat the question, please?
Sure. How do you propose to reduce attorney fees if elected? Year to date, we have paid $65,414 and only budgeted for $40,000.
First of all, I think that we should use the people and the resources that we have within our community. If that's not working, then we need to go to HomeCo and find out what their solution would be and see if that's in line with what's going on. I'm not very good at a business end and don't know, but I do know that attorneys charge a lot. Even to get a will or a trust in place, it costs a lot of money. So if we could hold off on speaking to an attorney or have someone in the office speaking to an attorney for every problem that we have, I think that would help reduce it a little bit, but I don't know that for sure.
Thank you, Connie. John?
Yeah, you hit on something. We respond a lot of times with a sense of urgency, and we get questions that we feel like we just have, somebody feels like we have to just answer immediately. And in the big picture, we can take time, we can assess things a little more carefully, and then we can articulate questions more specifically when we need legal assistance. So I know that there has been a huge number of questions coming in to management and to the board, and some of those concern legal aspects that need to be addressed. Perhaps they don't need to be addressed with quite the sense of urgency that we've done that, and Graybeards and other focus groups and things like that can help. Management has in their contract responsibility to help us in this area, and we ought to investigate with them at no cost. We ought to investigate with them how that can take effect and save us some money. But a lot of the legal fees have been self-inflicted.
Thank you, John. Greg?
Yeah, while I was on the board for those 6 months, our president would contact the attorney, and the board members knew nothing about it as we met. So there was never any conversation with the board members about a legal situation. We didn't hear anything from HomeCo on it. It was strictly a president's decision to hire them. So I think the way to do that is to make sure everything goes through HomeCo. That's what we hire them for. And also, before we hire an attorney, the entire board should be involved with making that decision.
Thank you, Greg. Chuck?
I have to kind of agree with Greg, but I also feel that the board should be there and doing their due diligence to review those invoices and also determine who's been contacting them directly. And also maybe it's also time, if there's that much, to also look for another law firm that could represent. Because I mean, I'm taking classes and it's amazing how many other law firms, HOA law firms, have people out there that will more than willing would come into Happy Trails and maybe at a different rate and better services.
Thank you, Chuck. Next question, we'll start off with Becca. How familiar are you right now with the Happy Trails CC&Rs and bylaws?
I would say very familiar with the CC&Rs and bylaws. When I was on the board, I helped to rewrite or put before the community changes to the bylaws and CCNRs. So I am extremely familiar with those as well as rules and regs. I can tell you bylaws can be changed by the board. Rules and regs can be changed by the board, and CCNRs have to go to the community. That's where you have meetings, discussions, and then it goes to a vote.
Thank you, Becca. Connie?
Being brand new, trying to run for the board, I'm not real aware until about a month or two ago about the CCNRs and our rules and regs. So I don't know them real well, but I have been studying and I'm learning a lot. So if you elect me, I'll continue. And there's classes that was brought up last night that's available to us. And I plan on using that whether I'm elected or not, just so that I'm more in the know.
Thank you, Connie. John?
I've read the governing documents, and I'm familiar with them. I know how to go find something that I need to know. I haven't memorized them, and I don't intend to, but so I am familiar with them.
Thank you, John. Greg?
Yeah, I also can't remember anything that I've read on them. I tend to fall asleep before I get through them. But I do use them for reference. So if something comes up that I need to be aware of, then I use the CCNRs and bylaws as a reference.
Thank you, Greg. Chuck?
I'm also constantly reading them or reviewing them when I need to, when things come up on the front of the board. And then I also use other resources like the state, the county, and by taking the classes that I have been, I go back and refer back to our CCNRs to see what the state is doing and how it's being affected by our CCNRs and our rules and regulations.
I've been looking at CCNRs and bylaws since I moved in. Whenever I do anything with remodeling or changing the property, you got to know the rules. So you go in and look at it. They're easy to get at. Go to front porch, bang, it's there. Their front steps. And it's easy enough to find things on there. But I look at them all the time. Whenever something comes up, I got to do.
Thank you, Terry. Did we start off with you last time? Okay. Next question. We'll start off with Connie. Do you support allowing Happy Trails Board to appoint directors for up to 3 years? I'm assuming that's what it's regarding.
I like the current practice that we have right now. Someone filling in should finish out that term and then go for re-election if they like it and if they want to stay on.
Thank you, Connie. John?
My understanding of the bylaws and CCNRs are that a vacancy is filled by appointment to fill out the remainder of the term of that individual. That's what we have done. That's the precedent that has been established here, at least for the last 10 years. There was one indication, one example that was not completed due to health. Do I support? I support the precedents that's been established because previous boards have done that, and so that was the judgment that they had, and that's their reading of the bylaws and the rules. So I will stand with that.
Thank you, John. Greg?
Yeah, absolutely not. If you're appointed, you should be appointed until the next election and allow the members to choose the people that they want representing them. In my case, they take me out for a text message and threaten to sue Debbie and I. So either resign, Greg, or we're going to sue you and Debbie. So, and cost us tens of thousands of dollars, and then stack the board with the people that they want. So that's really not the way to do it. Go to the next election and then let the members choose their candidates.
Chuck?
I believe that they should only meet until the next general election. And also, I mean, precedent sounds great, but we have a Supreme Court system. It's changing precedents have been established. So if the rules are established until the next election, then that's how it should be.
Terry?
I also don't believe it should be long-term to replace somebody to fulfill a whole term, be it 1 year or 3 years. Precedence is a great thing, but it's not always the right thing. And in this case, I don't believe it was the right thing.
Becca?
I have to say, I see both sides of the argument. Unfortunately, our bylaws are not written well enough to really make a determination. At this point, precedent has been the person serves to the end of whoever they replace term. And what that does is keep consistency on the board as far as having people with experience. I can see us getting to a point, if we just appoint for the end of the year, then you're going to maybe at one point elect four or five new people. That does not bring experience with the board that I think is important. I'm not going to say which way is necessarily correct, but I do like precedent that we've set over the last at least 10 years.
All righty. We'll start off with John on this next question. What topics should never be discussed or decided in executive session?
What topics should never be discussed in an executive session?
Discussed or decided in an executive session?
Executive sessions are for the purpose of discussing 4 things only, and nothing else should be discussed at those sessions. And an agenda should be published specifically stating what the meeting is for and what's going to be discussed. Unfortunately, the last time the agenda was put on the calendar and not on the email blast that went out in the newsletter. So it looked like there wasn't any agenda, but if you looked at the calendar, there was an agenda, specific topic. So there's four reasons for an executive session, and they're very, they should be very strictly adhered to.
Thank you, John. Greg?
We shouldn't be making rules in an executive session for the bylaws and regulations and those sort of things. That shouldn't be dealt with in an executive session. That should all be public meeting brought out before everybody.
Chuck?
The state only requires, it's actually 5. There's 2 litigations. One's legal, one is litigation, the other one is personnel. I'll never remember them all. Anyway, the state is very specific. You have to put that on the agenda on which of the 5 categories they are. If they're outside of that, then it should not be discussed at all.
Thank you, Chuck. Terry?
Not I've been on the board yet. I agree with Chuck. You have to be talking about the things that you're supposed to be talking about, not making rules for the community that we don't have any idea what you're doing.
Thank you, Terry. Becca?
There's really only 4 things you can discuss in an executive session. It's legal, personnel, individual owner disputes or past due amounts, something to do with an individual person that wishes to meet with the board, and contracts. Those are the only 4 things you can meet for. If it's for something else, it needs to be in an open meeting.
Thank you, Becca. Connie?
Not ever being on the board before, I have never attended an executive session. So I really don't have a good opinion. And if I'm elected and get a little experience behind me, then I maybe next year can answer this for you.
Thank you, Connie. All righty, we'll start off with Greg on the next question. How would you rebuild a trust in a community where homeowners fear speaking up?
Well, you don't have the president of the association telling people that you can't talk to board members. There's a lot of people in here that have huge backgrounds, doctors, lawyers, nurses, teachers, and everybody can gain some education from talking to people. So mostly it's the same old thing that happened in 24. It's communication, not allowing the members to know what's going on and trying to push things through in a hurry, like this election that we're involved with right now, where there's 3 items on the election. Really a bad idea, and doesn't gain trust in the public at all.
Thank you, Greg. Chuck?
Basically, one-on-one group discussions by a board member. Like I said at the beginning, us facing the board, facing the audience instead of each other. I believe that, I've never seen it in the public sector. They've all shipped, if you go to Surprise, City of Surprise, City of Phoenix, the county, they're not facing each other, they're facing the audience. And I think the more that we're facing the audience, the more trust we'll build.
Thank you, Chuck. Terry?
The only way to have the community trust you is to give them a voice and let them be heard. It's as simple as that. We don't have enough of that. There's not enough transparency, yes. When some information comes out, it's typically vague and doesn't give the average person a clear understanding of what's going on.
Thank you. Terry? Becca?
I agree, we need more communication. I would very much like to see the We're Listening sessions come back. I would also encourage folks, if they do have an issue and they know a board member, go ahead and talk to them. I would also like to see the town meeting structure maybe change a little bit. I know some people don't like to speak up in a big group. Other people don't mind, to maybe open up the town meetings more. I know they do sometimes, but more for owners and residents to come and ask their questions. That is the perfect place to do it, in a large crowd. And if a person is not feeling very secure about what they have to say, then go to a We're Listening. But I agree, we need to open up communication, however that needs to happen here. I do believe another piece of it, and it's nobody's fault particularly, but our new community system, whatever you want to call it, Front Steps, has had a lot of fits and starts. And I think that needs a little work still so that we can all get information through that system as well.
Thank you, Becca. Connie?
Could you repeat the question?
I absolutely will. How would you rebuild trust in a community where homeowners fear speaking up?
I agree with what's been said so far as communication. And in a large group, because when you have just 2 or 3 people talking, it it can get repeated. You know, that old game that we used to play, somebody whispers in your ear and you go around 10 times and by the 10th time, it's not even close to what it started out to be. So I think that communication will help build the trust. And listening to our community, you, me, the residents, I think, and they see that there is some progress, that's going to help with our trust.
Thank you, Connie. John?
Communications is critical, and I agree with Becca's suggestions, and I think that town meetings should be like a town hall where there's two-way interaction and a give and take, not respectfully, and you have to recognize that the people on the board or the people who are speaking and responding to questions don't know everything, so give them a break. To build trust, we have to have ready access to truth. And so much of what the community hears is rumors and untruth. And once rumors get started, it's just like a wildfire. So one of the effective mechanism that I think we should employ is a website. Now, website's different than Front Steps. Front Steps is a portal where you go in and do some business or find out some information that's specific. A website is where you go and gain information very quickly. As an example, the Happy Trails Christian Fellowship has got a new app that you can have on your phone. You touch it, it comes up, and within 5 seconds, you can find anybody's phone number you want. You can find any document. You can find any video. You can find out what activities are. You can find the calendar, and it's instant information. And I don't see why we can't have that kind of capability here to communicate information and share information. And then we can maybe stamp out some of the brush fires and kill some of the rumors with truth and facts. But it's hard to get truth and facts out when the board we can't respond on social media. We can't, neither can management. So it's a one-sided conversation over there. So we need a mechanism to get out the facts, and then you can respond back with questions and answers.
Thank you, John. And the next question, we'll start off with Chuck. Under what conditions is a special assessment justified, and what homeowner input should precede it?
If there's a special assessment, it would probably have to be several long meetings to explain that situation and how long that special assessment is. I mean, it would be like a construction or major remodel of like the PAC or something like that inside the PAC. But it would probably take quite a process and determine what the reasonable fees would be at that point in time. But it would be well communicated and well voted on or well discussed on that process.
Thank you, Chuck. Terry?
Pretty much what Chuck says. The special assessment is only going to be thrown out there if we've got a downfall or emergency repair that has to be done, and we don't have the money in the bank to do it. Like you said, meetings, due diligence, and finding the best way of taking care of it at the least cost.
We definitely have to have community input, obviously. Special assessment, I'm thinking of one, for instance. At one point, a building here was thought to have a terrible termite problem, or that it might have a terrible termite problem, and that the building might have to be shut down or torn down. So then there would have to be discussion, okay, what are we going to do with that space? And that would be discussion with everybody. Do we rebuild? Do we repurpose? What do we do? That's what special assessments are for. And obviously, it takes a lot of discussion for the whole community, then go with 2, 3, 4 ideas and find out what those are going to cost. Then you can talk about how much that's going to be per lot. You can see we got 2,001 lots. So you take the whole total and divide by 2,000 and you know what your special assessment's going to be.
Connie?
A special assessment, I think, should be used only when something has completely failed. Say we're having trouble with our big pool now, and there's been rumor that maybe someday, pretty soon, we're going to have to replace that pool. So a special assessment would help pay for that, because I know it's not going to be completely covered with our finances in our budgets.
Thank you, Connie. John?
Special assessments are kind of a unique animal. They're not like a regular assessment. They're very specific for a specific purpose for a specific time. They have to be, they can't go longer than a year without being revoted on by the community. And the money has to be set aside and used specifically for what that special assessment was charged for. It can't be commingled. So and sometimes they're necessary, but they are unique and handled completely differently than our normal general assessment.
Thank you, John. Greg?
A special assessment, if the board's actually doing its job, then we shouldn't need a special assessment. But if the special assessment comes up, it'll be obvious. A building, like Becca said, something will be really obvious. And so that'll be taken to the members, and the members will decide what we want to do. And do we want to remove the building? Do we want to repair the building, replace it? So it's always communication, and everyone's going to know exactly what it is.
All right. Thank you, Greg. Next question, we'll start off with Terry. Where am I at? What are Arizona homeowners' rights to inspect HOA financial records? One more time? Okay. What are Arizona homeowners' rights to inspect HOA financial records?
Well, all our records are supposed to be open to inspection by the public. So if you're a homeowner, you have the right to go in the office and look at the information that's there.
Thank you, Terry. Becca?
Yes, whatever information's been put out, it should be available to all homeowners. The financials are put out monthly. And if you do, sometimes we're lagging a little bit before they can be made public. The board has to approve them. So many times we're closer to 2 months behind by the time the financials come out, they go to the board, and then they get posted. Those are always available. All you have to do is go to the office and find out, and they should be monthly. You can look at the audits that we have. They're done annually. We're required to have an audit every single year. So all that information is available. If all you have to do is ask for it.
Thank you, Becca. Connie?
After listening to all of these people, I get confused what the question is. So
No
one more
problem.
time.
You got it. What are Arizona homeowners' rights to inspect HOA financial records?
I think everybody should be able to look at our records, especially us homeowners and our new prospective homeowners, so that they know what we're getting into. But I think that everybody should be able to have access to those records.
Can't remember the exact title number, but the Arizona statute that covers homeowners associations is very specific that we as homeowners have the right to see the financials. And I think that the process we have here is that you go to the general manager, or to the office and general manager, ask for those, and they will be made available to you immediately for your purview. So they are also put in the package that we see in the planning sessions and at the board of directors. They're presented during the board of directors. Information is provided there by our accountant, and questions are allowed to be asked at that time. So, but you can get a copy, no problem.
Thank you, John. Greg?
Yes, the financials are available and open to everyone, and they should be. If there's a specific, like the attorney's fees, and you want to see what that is specifically, then you can go to Darlene, and she will make that available to you.
Thank you, Greg. Chuck?
Um, Sorry, the state requires that all financial and all records for HOAs should be available on request within 10 days, is what I remember off the top from taking the classes. You can request them, and then they will give you a space to review them. You cannot make copies, is what I understand, because usually that's a private thing, but you can review them and mark them and might take notes, but you can't take pictures for posting on the media and social media.
Thank you, Chuck. All right, another question, and we'll start off with Becca. 1 year from now, what measurable actions should homeowners see to know you upheld transparency, accountability, and fiduciary duty? And I can read that again. How's that better? Check, check. Okay. 1 year from now, what measurable actions should homeowners see to know you upheld transparency, accountability, and fiduciary duty?
I just don't understand the question. But I will, I'll address transparency, honesty, and so forth. I'm all for transparency. Anything that happens should be out and available to everybody. It's a foregone conclusion. When you are a board member, you have 3 duties. Okay? It's a duty of care, which is making informed decisions, a duty of loyalty, that you act in good faith at all times, and a duty of obedience, which is you let people know what's going on and you do it to the best of your ability. So I have no problems with doing whatever is required to be sure everything is, or that I am transparent. I think in this meeting and the one last night, I've been very transparent. When I was the treasurer, I was very transparent. So I don't think that's really an issue for me, and anybody that is involved in an HOA or a entity such as an HOA needs to be transparent, because all owners need to know what's going on.
Thank you. Connie?
I agree with Becca. I believe in honesty. And if you need to check out what I'm doing on the board, if I'm elected, come and talk to me. I'd be glad to tell you what my opinion is and why I voted the way I did. And finding out what's going on through transparency is, I think it's a very good idea for transparency. Just so that everybody knows that what's going on and what kind of a board member you've become.
Thank you, Connie. John?
Meetings are recorded, minutes are kept, and they are available for review for a period of time, and they vary depending on what kind of technology or format that record takes. But those give you transparency into what was said and decisions that were made. So accountability is provided by that access to those records, and you can see for yourself what people say and what they did.
Thank you, John. Greg?
1 year from now, you'll find people that know me for the last 4 years will probably know that I have the exact same attitude. And so 1 year from now, I'll still have that same attitude, honesty and openness. So you can talk to me at my house or catch me in the dog park or whatever you'd like to do. But I'll be the same person 1 year from now.
Thank you, Greg. Chuck?
1 year from now, basically, I'll be pretty much like what Greg said, the same person, trying to be upfront, be honest. Transparency, I believe that we need to make sure, I would like to, and you guys are going to think this is funny, back to school where you bring in your little notebooks and you have the same agenda, you have everything else up front, either on your tablet or on a 3-ring binder like I do. So you're making notes, so when you come up and ask questions of the board, you're asking pertinent questions of the motion instead of saying, oh, I didn't know that was on the agenda. I believe that, being upfront, and I'm hopefully maybe a year from now, I may get rid of my caramel and go to something else if you come and visit me.
Thank you, Chuck. Terry?
Transparency. Everybody that knows me knows how transparent I am. I'm an open book. If you need to know something and I know it, you'll get it from me. As far as honesty, I'm as honest as the day is long, I guess. You won't get a sideways answer from me. If I don't know the answer, I'll get it for you. I always strive to get the answer no matter what. I've worked in that scenario before, and if I can't get it, I'll go to somebody that can get it for me.
Thank you, Terry. That is it for the questions that came in over email. We're going to take a quick 5-minute recess, let the candidates catch a breath. We'll convene, and then we will take questions from the audience and online chat.
This big. Wow. Be 5 in July. Wow. They grew up really? Yeah. Oh. Otherwise. That's normal. She's doing great. She's doing good. Nice to see you. I've been here almost 10 years. Oh, 10 years. Wow. Well, take care. Nice seeing you. Yep.
I didn't want to hear that. Well, you do. You can't satisfy one successful people.
Still got.
I don't know if you've addressed it already, but it's about the property that used to be there when this property for sale. Yeah, it was on the page, and there's about 10 of us that rent out our properties in about costing us about money.
Dave Fontino.
I agree. I heard that you went to Facebook and they were getting it even worse.
Thank you. So do you still want the water? Oh, I thought it was over. No, sorry, I'll bring the water back.
So is there any remedy for it? It's cost me $10,000 since it's come. This then lost revenue, but we used to get ready traffic.
I thank you guys.
They used to post them down there, and that's all gone. It used to be posted here by the library, and that's all gone. So it seemed to me like somebody doesn't want rent.
They stole your water. They don't want you to have to go to the bathroom again.
I look at it all the time. It is. In the library, there's a board. Right, but I heard that there was a lot of scamming going on. All right, well, thank you.
Scheduled till 4. The worst case till 4. All right, we'll ask everyone to find their way back to their seats, please. Give everyone a moment to get settled back in so we can open up the questions for online chats in the audience.
Ready? Let's see it. I have to drop a 3, huh?
Hello?
Oh. That's funny. I was just texting you. Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Appreciate it. You're the best. All right, if we can get everyone to start making their way back to their seats, please. All righty. I believe the candidates are here and ready. I hear them giggling, so that's a good sign. We're going to open this up to the audience and to the online chats. We are going to ask that it's one question. Again, this is not a debate, so it's one question, either directed to a candidate or all the candidates. You'll get a response, and then we're going to move on to the next question. We will circle around for a second one after we give everyone a chance to ask their first question. So if you have a question, please raise your hand. We'll go around with a microphone and just be patient with us. I believe Michelle is somewhere with the microphone. So again, if you could just raise your hands, just pick a side and we'll start from there. Please, name and lot number. If you could say your name and your lot number, and if this question is directed to a specific candidate or all the candidates, please.
Okay, Donna 379. Y'all don't know that. Okay, I'll send it. Okay. Donna 379. This is going to be for all of them because I have 2 questions, but one I'll do a second time around. The question for all of you is, how are we going to, and you on the board, going to handle the fact that everybody's upset about how people come into this resort and just, get that little pink pass? How do you expect the guards to take care of when somebody is caught, say they go into the chuck wagon, but they end up soliciting people in their homes? How do you expect the guards to be able to control that without them being able to have a little more, for a better word, power or authority, because they don't have any authority. I mean, if you want somebody to patrol, then we need to have security. How do you expect them to handle that?
Thank you, Donna. And that was to all you guys. Greg, you grab the microphone first. You're up.
That is difficult, and that's kind of a question for David to figure out. You could probably write down a timestamp on the pink card, or maybe David can have a timestamp inside, so that if someone's here for more than an hour, he may say, well, we got to go look for this guy. He might be out selling. But it would also be important for the homeowners, if somebody comes up to your home and is selling, this is somebody that shouldn't be here, and you need to call David, you need to call the patrol office, because they can intercede and say, you're not supposed to be here. If the person doesn't leave, then I'm sure they have to call the police. But the patrol could say, yeah, you're not supposed to be here, you got to leave.
Thank you, Greg. Chuck?
I would probably say the first part, if it's a solicitation, I would recommend the homeowner contacting the security guard. If they feel threatened, then go to the next step and call the police, and then they'll notify the security. If because we have Chuck Wagon in the fellowship and all this stuff that comes in from people outside, we just need to make sure our policies and procedures are in place. And then also keep the community updated on when activities were outside, vendor days. Most people know what those are, but keep those so everybody's aware if there's outside activities going on.
Thank you, Chuck. Terry?
Like Chuck said, we need to let the security know, the guard shack know if we've had that kind of a problem. They can call the police to respond to a situation like that. As far as being able to police it ahead of time, until we change the way we run their situation, they can't enforce it. They don't have any enforcement ability.
Thank you, Terry. Becca?
I have to somewhat mostly agree with Terry. They don't have any authority to do much of anything. And frankly, our resort is pretty open. Anybody that wants to be here can get here. And just go through the golf course parking lot and you can walk right in. I think it's our owner's responsibility to contact security or the police, depending on the situation. If they see somebody that looks a little sketchy that shouldn't be here, just call the police or call patrol and they can come and check it out. The other thing I think that would help, not so much with people just coming in and wandering around, is people that use our facilities. That we can control. If we really look at a key card system, which we've talked about, we haven't done yet, I think it would be very helpful, because I've heard from several people that people like from Sunrise Farms and whatnot are coming over and using our gym. Or they're coming around and using our showers. So I think, and the pools, but if we lock some of these things down, at least we can control that piece of unauthorized access.
Thank you, Becca. Connie?
I agree with Becca when it comes to locking down our facilities that are now open to everyone. It upsets me to see someone from next door in their golf cart coming over here with their puppy and letting their puppy do its business around our gazebo and on our green lawn. So if we had a better system of letting people in than what we have now, that might help control it better. When you're talking about the guard shack, they really don't have a real good way of telling people that they can't come in, because if they want to come to the Chuck Wagon, that's open. If they want to come to Vendors Day, that's open. So, but I think locking down our facilities is probably one of the better ways.
Thank you, Connie. John?
This is a really difficult thing. You can't assign responsibility without giving authority. And if the people don't have the authority to enforce the rules, then they shouldn't have the responsibility because it puts them in a terrible position. Unmanaged expectations. So we really need to work with HOMCO. HOMCO is, as I believe in their contract, charged to manage this aspect of it. So we need to work with them. But this is not something that the board delves in the details. We might get a focus group together to help management understand the issues and possible options. But, I think that knowing who's here, key cards are probably the best technology that's available right now. And that's going to cost some money. And we're going to fight over whether we want to spend that money or not. But think about it. That's really an important step forward for this community, to know who's in here and clean up the roles of the transponders and those sorts of things too. That's normal process and procedure. But I think key cards are something that the board's going to have to grapple with. And personally, the sooner we address that and get it done, the better.
Thank you, John. All righty. Do we have another question? Remember name, lot number, and if it's directed toward a specific candidate or all the candidates.
Hi, this is Karen Stewart, lot 1389, and this is directed to Becca. Becca, I was a little confused about your response when you indicated that the board can change the bylaws of Happy Trails. In Article 6, amendment of the bylaws, it reads, "These bylaws may be amended by the affirmative vote of a majority of the owners." A plain reading of this, it takes 1,002 yes votes by owners to change the bylaws.
Was there a question in there or no? Okay.
I'll just address it. I guess I did misspeak. I think I was referring more to meetings with the community. That does not have to happen with bylaws. There has to be a vote. It doesn't have to be open meetings to discuss. CC&Rs have to have open meetings and then the vote can take place after that. There's a whole process for CC&Rs that is a little more complicated than the bylaws, but they do have to be voted upon.
Thank you. We have one down here and then we'll get to the online.
Kathleen Connor, lot 1312. My question is for the whole group, but I want to start with John. I understand that our community right now needs peace and unity. However, when there are blatant misrepresentations and blatant choices that are being made that is not in Happy Trails' best interests, whether financial or otherwise, as a board member, would you be willing to draw the line in the sand and make the difficult decision to do the right thing no matter what the rest of the board is pushing on you or wanting you to do?
And I believe that was for all of the board, but you wanted to start off with John. Okay, John, you're up.
Yes, of course.
Okay, Greg?
I didn't hear the question.
Can we get a repeat of the question, please?
Okay, the question was, our community needs peace and unity. However, when there's blatant misrepresentations, blatant choices that are not in the best interests of Happy Trails, whether it's financial or otherwise, as a board member, would you be willing to draw the line in the sand, make the difficult decision to do the right thing, no matter what the rest of the board is trying to pressure you or push you into doing?
No, absolutely. We've always had that that kind of thing been going on for the last few years. So yeah, absolutely, I stand strong.
Thank you, Greg. Chuck?
I also stand strong with that statement.
Terry?
Absolutely. Strong as can be.
Becca?
Yes.
I agree.
All righty. Do we have another question? Oh, we're going to online first. Sorry. We have an online question. Darlene?
Yes, John Getter, lot 1758. This is to all board candidates. Regardless of what the bylaws, CCNR, et cetera, says, do you believe it should be a good practice to discuss at a board meeting and get feedback from the owners before attempting to make any change to the CCR bylaws in order to be transparent? That's for all candidates.
Good luck.
Yes, obviously, to have things done in an executive session where people don't get to see what's going on, everything should be brought through the planning meeting and through the general meeting so that everybody has an idea of what's going on. The board still has the opportunity to make that decision, but they should bring it to the members, no matter what the bylaws say.
Thank you, Greg. Chuck?
Yes, they all should. The only 4 or 5 categories in the executive session should be the only thing that's discussed. Everything is open, and meetings and town meetings should be discussed ahead of time for all those changes.
Thank you, Chuck. Terry?
Yes, I agree. Everything should be open and above board. Doesn't matter what the bylaws say, we still should be able to be given the proper information and discuss it.
I agree that most everything should go to an open meeting. I have had several people speak to me about the item up for vote now and asking, what does it really say? Because it has not been explained and it has not been in an open meeting where questions can be answered. So the best way to do anything like that is to discuss it openly. It doesn't mean the board, if they can, doesn't make a decision. They may only have one open meeting, but then it's put up for a vote. But there should be an open session where people are allowed to ask questions before it goes before everyone for the vote.
I agree with Becca.
Yes.
All right. Do we have another question, Henry?
Michelle Stoltz, lot 444. At the end of the last board meeting, Jennifer got up and started announcing that we were going to have this vote. And at that time, she said, unless the change is made, everyone's vote can be known for every owner unless they don't vote. And I didn't resonate with that particular comment, but I thought, okay, maybe it's just a misstatement. Then I received my ballot, and on my ballot on the first page, it said, your choices can be viewed by the administrator. Now, I spent many years in working as a computer administrator and in computer security, and so I questioned that statement. So I went to Election Buddy software, and I looked it up, and I went through a chat, and I got back that they ensure that the administrator can only see whether or not you have voted, but cannot view the specific choices made. Then they have another document that you can reference as to the fact that only the voter themselves have to go through what's called a 256-bit encryption process to even see their own vote to make sure that it registered as they voted. So I found that information to be in that ballot to be incomplete. Now, granted, with a paper ballot, if you send in a paper ballot, a human being has to open that paper ballot. So somewhere along the line, there will be a human being that might have the option to see your vote. But I think putting in statements like anybody can see your vote, the administrator can see what you voted, were possibly misleading enough to affect the vote. And I had submitted that as well to everybody saying that. In addition to that example, I believe we've had others this year where there's been information put out that then had to get pulled back. The letter about The letter about the late fees.
I understand. Is there a question for the candidates?
Yes, I'm getting there.
Okay.
I'm getting there. I'm
Okay.
giving examples.
Okay.
There was the code of conduct that was sent out and had to be pulled back. And most recently, there was the whole mess around the Class A's in the ranch. So my question to all the board members is, it's a two-part question. What do you perceive to be the cause of all of this confusion? And what are your suggestions for how to provide complete and accurate information to prevent these types of issues from arising?
Alrighty, that was directed to all of the board, and Greg, you grabbed it first.
Well, I perceive that the information that's given out by one of the directors or the president at the time was just bad information. Last year when I was running, Darlene assured me that nobody can see those votes, and that was the reason that we can't have the election committee, because the company would only work through Darlene. So, yeah, I think the vote's safe.
Thank you, Greg. Chuck?
I know that going through election buddy, I've kind of gone through that same process. The other process too is the votes are already done. If somebody wants to come and ask me why I voted a certain way, I don't care of answering it. If they don't like it, then, that's their opinion, and we can walk away and shake hands and move on to something else. I mean, I'm proud of how I voted and how I vote on certain things. So I'm proud to tell people how I voted.
Thank you, Chuck. Terry?
The incomplete information that was put out for this situation is the biggest problem. So going forward, there's got to be more visibility in what we're doing. You got to let people know. You got to put it in a way that they understand it.
Thank you, Terry. Becca?
Sometimes I think whoever's putting the information out, the board, president, management, maybe gets a little bit in a hurry. And I think it behooves anyone that has something that's going out to everybody here, take a breath, look at it again, and have, in particular, the communications committee review it. I mean, I'm sure they're not going to share what's there, but you need enough people to read it to see if there is confusion or different interpretations. And you can't do that by yourself, even just the board members necessarily, because they may have all the background and what the issue is. But when you put out a statement with no background, sometimes people don't understand it. And it's unfortunate that's happened with this vote. A lot of people are saying, I don't get it. I'm not even sure what the issue is. So I would suggest or encourage anyone that's going to put out information, take a breath and have many people review it. A committee, 2 or 3 or 4 people, depending on what it is and the nature of what they're speaking about. Have somebody look at it and make sure you and that person and everybody that looks at it has the same interpretation, so we're better able to communicate and mostly get out the correct message.
I like a lot of what Roberta said. I'm sorry, Becca. If we're talking about specifically about the voting, we can make it a private vote by doing what we do in public for our presidency and our senators. We could put it in a special envelope and with no name. And then when they're counting that, then they just are counting the vote, not who voted or what. But the rest, like this last change in the bylaws, right? there's too many things, and we talked about this last night. There's too many things on that particular ballot. We should vote for each individual thing.
Thank you, Connie. John?
So what I understand on the question is what's causing the confusion and what do you do to fix it? I don't know why we went to election buddy. I think personally that the election committee was doing a good job. It was very cost effective. I think I've heard, I'm not quoting exact numbers, but I've heard $1,600 or so for the executive, for the election committee versus $8,000 for an election buddy. And the election committee is here. They've got a stake in the community, and they can separate the signature and the validation of the vote to make sure that the vote is appropriate and it's from an owner from the actual vote, so that there's no traceability. So I think that going back to the election committee should be looked at and is possibly a good candidate for fixing. They do a lot of educating as well, or they did do a lot of educating. So they can answer questions and they can eliminate a lot of the confusion that seems to be prevalent. And once we can get some facts out, then the rumor mill won't run crazy.
Thank you, John. Do we have?
Steve Funk, lot 1600. I spoke last night and I asked Greg a question last night, and I need to get back to that question again today. So this question is directly to Greg, and I need to set the stage a little bit if I may. I won't take too long. But Greg, I want to go back to the first question that was asked at this meeting today. And that question was about what would you do to support the board of directors if they all decided one thing and you decided a different? Your statement on that was, it is just what it is. Is that correct? That's correct. But with that said, this happened last summer. The board of directors spent considerable time and resources investigating 5 violations of code of conduct, not one text message, but 5 violations of code of conduct. After that investigation, they, as a board of directors, a group, decided in the best interest of this community that you be removed from the board of directors for those ethics violations. That's a fact. That's what was done. I might also let you know that you are the only board of director that has been basically removed from the board by the board of directors, not by the public, but by the board of directors in the last 10 plus years. Everyone else that has created a vacancy,
We'll
just
let
tell
him
her to
speak.
stop.
Hold on, guys, hey, we're gonna let him ask his questions. I asked the audience to be quiet. And Steve, I'm gonna ask that you get to your question,
I'm going to
please.
get to my question.
Thank
She
you.
took quite a while.
I understand,
over
I
there.
understand. Please,
Okay.
audience, be quiet while everybody else
All
is
right.
talking on the mic.
But in the last 10 or 12 years, everybody that has vacated the board has been from an illness or some other reasons, not because they were vacated or taken off the board. Okay. Last night, you said it was all illegal and that you were the victim of a weaponized board. My question to you is, why should this community re-elect you when you chose not to defend yourself against these allegations, but rather just quit?
Guys, let's let the candidate answer. We will shut this down if we can't get this under control, please. We're all adults here. Let the candidates answer. And if you have a question, you can raise your hand and then you can speak on the microphone. Thank you. Greg?
It's pretty simple. I was given the choice, either resign or we're going to sue you. So that means it's cut and dried. If they sue me, they're suing my wife, Debbie. They're suing our property. And I'm a volunteer here. And I love this resort. That's why I want to be on the board. And I had no choice at that point. So I had to resign. It's a simple fact of finances.
Thank you, Greg. I think we have an online one we'll get to, and then I see a raised hand in the back.
This is John Wilkie, lot 2209, and this is to all candidates. Key card access was first discussed at the November 2021 Safety Committee meeting. This issue has constantly been kicked down the road now for 4 years. What would you do specifically to move this issue forward and make sure a decision is made one way or another?
I believe that was all to the board. And Greg?
The key card access might help with some of the problem with people getting in the resort. However, the key card I think is expensive, and I don't know if it could be parted out where certain buildings could be key carded or the pool could be key carded, and then do it slowly over some years. But I don't know enough about the system. I like the open system. I like being able just to walk into a building with my grandkids if I want to. But a key card would sure help with some of the problems with people entering our property.
Thank you, Greg. Chuck?
I wasn't around in 2021. I mean, to understand the key card access, I mean, we owned the lot, but I do like the open access. I think it just needs to be updated or, you know, because technology has changed, and just review it. I am not familiar with it. I can't make a difference either way. I mean, I worked for the city and we had key card accesses everywhere because that was standard. I don't know how everybody would feel about not being able to get into a building or in access if they forgot their key card, on the administration of it together to keep it updated. I mean, we're now reviewing transponders. So how often is it going to be done and who's going to be managing it? It would be a question that I would have.
Thank you, Chuck. Terry?
Key card's a good idea. I've worked with it over the years and it's very efficient. It doesn't let the wrong people in, obviously. It can be spread around to different scenarios, like the pools separately, and they could work into it. But all this takes a bunch of research and money. So till we have the availability of the funds to do it, we'll have to keep looking at it.
Thank you, Terry. Becca?
I was on the board when these discussions kind of got going. Pretty heavy duty. There were some people looked into things. We got some bids just to see what we could do, how much it would cost, so on and so forth. What we were looking at are the pools and all the common area buildings. So that, and for instance, the people that have dedicated rooms, they would be locked, key card access only. It would be a lot easier to lock down rooms that we want to lock down if it was controlled by, say, security, and they can just lock them down at 11 o'clock or whatever the time might be. We can keep people out of our exercise room that aren't supposed to be there. We can keep people out of any number of places if we have key card access. And that was the purpose. That's why I brought it up a little while ago. I think now, because we are done with roads, we are done with roofs, we have money. We have money to spend. It's now incumbent on BGM and finance and whatever other committee might be involved to decide what's priority, along with the group that does the planning for Happy Trails. There's a planning group that meets, and where does that fall on their priority list? I personally believe it needs to be a pretty high priority. It's been many years since we've had the opportunity to actually make improvements here rather than just fix what needs to be fixed. And I think it's something that we really should look at.
Connie?
I agree with the key card access, especially for our swimming pools. The pool room, that's been opened up again to all of our residents. And that means if you are a visitor, you can go in there and play pool. They're very jealous over their equipment. And if you don't use it right, you could damage. So having key card access, I think is a really good idea. But I also agree that we should probably do it in a slower manner so it doesn't drain our extra money that we have. We could do it, set a priority, the board could set a priority and go accordingly. You as residents could give the board your opinion on which is important to you to take care of. But even though the key card access is going to be expensive, I think it's the right way to go.
We have a process in place, the project workshop, and projects are looked at in terms of urgency and importance and prioritized. And that's a good process, and it's a good working situation. Those committees are working together really well. And so I would encourage them to continue to prioritize. Personally, I think it's become more urgent from based on things that I've heard recently, but it's always been pretty high importance to control who comes in and know who's here. So that project workshop should give consideration to prioritization and then recommendations to the board.
Thank you, John. I believe we have one.
Oh, sure. Do I need one? Soccer board. Oh, my name is Jerry Yakovlev, and I live at 1121 Buckthorn.
A little bit closer.
Okay.
There you go.
So Jerry Yak, 1121. One, I want to make a comment, and then I'll ask my question. The comment is that our CCNRs provide only for the termination of a director by recall, that a director cannot call for the resignation of another director, and that to have the lawyer interfere by sending direct messages of threat to the candidate, forcing them to resign, is currently before the Attorney General's office and should not be discussed at this meeting. So my question is to Becca and to all of you. Yesterday, Becca was discussing the investment monies not being, and all of the monies not being distributed to FDIC insured institutions as provided for in our governing documents. And in that, she touted that by not staying within the boundaries of the documents, they made a substantial investment bonanza of monies that they would not have made had they stayed within the framework of the governing documents. And she cited a dollar amount, but what she did not cite was that we have spent that entire amount of money and much more in the penalties and the legal fees in getting and undoing that mess. So there was no profit. There's been a tremendous loss to us. My question is fair means or foul to achieve your goals? Do you believe in following the rules, even if they don't give you spectacular results? Start on whatever end you want.
Well, I believe it was directed toward Becca and then to the rest of the board.
Be happy to answer your question. First of all, you misspoke. I did not say exactly what you just said. I will say again what I said last night. The main crux of the issue is, I think, I'll say it a little differently today. The mistake I made and the board made was trusting that people that had been on the board prior had put together an investment policy that was in agreement with CCNRs and all our other governing documents. The mistake I made was trusting that that was correct, and it was not. So when we did the investments, we followed the current, at that point in time, investment policy that was here at Happy Trails. We made the investments. Thereafter, we found out that indeed the CCNRs said that only FDIC insured investment vehicles could be used. As the investments that we made matured, we put those funds in FDIC insured investments in CDs. I did not say that the money that was made on interest came specifically from the investments that the investment committee in 22-23 made. I said, to date, those are the interest monies that we have received, most of which were from CDs. Because as soon as we found out we had mistakenly invested in things we should not have, as soon as those investments matured, we moved them to CDs. Again, I would say that when I became treasurer, monies were not invested here. They weren't in CDs. They may have been in money market, and a lot of them were just in regular checking accounts. So again, I will say investments have been made. We've made a lot of interest on investments, whether in the first ones that we did or in the ones that were subsequent to those maturing. The other thing I want to say is it was not necessary to turn in that one annuity. I know we did, and there were penalties, but there was no harm done to Happy Trails community.
Thank you, Becca. She answered the question. Please stop interrupting. We gave you a chance to speak. We will end this. We gave you a chance to speak, and now you ask the rest of the board. So please be quiet while the candidates answer the questions. Connie, please, your turn.
Let me speak to that. I guess the question is, do you want to follow the rules or make money? And where is there a question there? You follow the rules, period.
Thank you.
Connie, did you want to?
When we're elected onto the board, some of us aren't as educated as others, so things are going to slip by us. And the more experienced board members are expected, and maybe not rightly so, to kind of catch things like that. I don't agree with everything that's been said. I think this CCNRs have to be followed. And like what Becca said, when they found out that they had made a mistake, they rectified it. And as the lady in orange has mentioned, that it cost us money. When you're at home and you have an accident with your car and you find out that your insurance is only going to pay a certain amount, then it becomes your responsibility. We as residents have a responsibility to stick by our board members.
Thank you, Connie. We'll hop over to Greg.
Follow the rules and still make money within the rules.
Or Terry. You're fine. Now, Greg.
Yeah, of course, follow the rules. But as what it shows is that the property management company actually didn't protect us. The property management company should have caught that before that money was moved. So not only is it a mistake of the existing board, but the property management company should have been there saying, you can't do this.
Yeah, your turn, Chuck.
I'm just going to state it like I used to when I worked for the public sector. Once an error has been found, you document it, you bring it out in the public and mention it there's an error and the following steps on how to correct that error at the time that the error was discovered.
Thank you, Chuck. We have another question? Oh, okay. No, I think it's you.
Okay, thank you. Roberta Ernest, lot 996-712. This question is for Greg Sherman. And you did just say follow the rules. So the board graciously allowed you to resign as a choice for the code of conduct violations, 5 of them. How is this community supposed to, or why would you expect this community to vote you back in when you have already violated the code of conduct 5 times, not knowing whether or not you are capable of doing that again?
Well, I can assure the members here that this was a super innocent thing that happened. In my enthusiasm about getting a fantastic employee back, I texted 4 board members about this employee. This is exactly what happened to Roberta the first time she was, they tried to recall her, where she walked into a room and it ended up with a quorum. And the general public, the members, did not vote her out.
We're going to ask, Roberta, we're going to ask that you be quiet. You ask the question, please. We done? Okay. Do we have anything else in the audience? Any new questions? I see a couple folks that have already asked. Anyone else that has not asked a question, please?
Mike Ragland, lot 1130. This question is to John. John, you're presently on the board. If you're running for a position now, that opens another position on the board. Is that correct? That can be appointed by the board?
Yes, I'm running for a position. Did that answer your question, Mike? No, it shouldn't open a position that will be filled by the board. Why would it?
What happens to the position you're in now?
I really don't know how to answer that. The precedent that has been established over a long period of time would indicate that I would be filling Greg's position for 3 years until 2028. The opportunity to update the bylaws was given, but it's very confusing. And so I don't think it's fair to continue with that vote. So the dilemma then becomes, what about this position and the longevity of the position? So I'm running for the board for the position that I'm currently in. And if you do not elect me to be on the board, then the position that I'm in will be taken by somebody else. I don't want to destroy precedent. Precedent is very important unless you vote to change precedent. So the dilemma is, how can I protect the precedent of previous boards that you happen to have been on too? You guys made decisions in the past based on your best knowledge and your best intention for the community, and you set a precedent. So I don't want to destroy that precedent by doing something that would do that. So I'm conflicted at how I can run for the board at the same time not destroy the precedent. One option is I can resign and then just run for the board. I'm not sure that would solve the problem of precedence. So let me just say this. I'm running for the board, and if I'm not elected, I won't be on the board.
Thank you, John. I believe we have another one.
Yes, Terry Walters, lot 497. My question is kind of similar to Mike's there, is that basically you filled the position at the time you filled it that was for the balance of a term that runs for a couple of more years. I don't see quite honestly if we're only voting for 2 people or whether we're voting for 3. That's where my mind's kind of confused here. If you are on the board, then you legally can't run again for the board. I mean, I've been here 28 years and nobody's tried to do that yet. So we need to figure out here, are we electing 2 people to the board? And if you lose, you're still on the board because you're still fulfilling the other term of somebody else. And so I don't understand. And like I say,
If I'm not elected, I will resign from the board.
You haven't resigned. Where's the resignation? You haven't resigned from the board. You're still on the board. This says right here, I am on the board.
I'm currently on the board.
That's right. And your term doesn't come up for 2 more years.
We're trying to do the right thing here, and it's
I don't see-
challenging to figure out what the right thing to do.
Well, but this is kind of the wrong time to be doing that. We're coming out and voting. We really only got 5 candidates. We don't have 6. We're going to vote for 5 candidates for 2 open positions. Your position isn't open. So how does all that work?
I'll hop in here, John. We are hoping for a lot of clarification after the vote. Of course, the bylaw vote will determine, whether the community voted yes or no, and we're kind of waiting on that, on direction on where to go. So I know it's a little on edge. We're all a little confused on it. And again, we are waiting on the bylaw vote to finish, and then we can get some more clarification and direction on which way we need to go. Do we have another question?
You sure do. Right here, Fred Rand, 2211-2149. I am on the board. I'm the treasurer. I have a simple question for everybody, especially the board. My question is, when do we move on from the past and work on the present? When do we move on and make our life better? Or we hang on to things we didn't like, but we have changed those. We have all the money in-house, and we are trying our best to make this a better community. I care about every one of you, whether you believe it or not. That's how God made me. And I will do everything I can to make it right. And I know people will not agree with what I do, but I'm not perfect in any way. But I ask you, when is it that we move on? That's my question.
And I believe that was to all of the candidates. So Greg?
I think that the point we move on is at the end of this election. I think that's what's going to straighten things out.
Chuck?
I just think that as soon as the mindset and everybody agrees to disagree and move on, then that's when we're going to do it. I can't give you a date.
Terry?
That's tough. Moving on. We'll move on, I think, when everything becomes more transparent. Everybody's informed, everybody's updated, and we all have a say in what's going on.
Thank you. Becca?
All I'm going to say is I would very much like to move on. I would like to see us all get along again. What's done is done. I've apologized for my piece of that numerous times, and I would very much like to move forward.
Connie?
First of all, I think we need to look back at our rules and regulations. If it says that he filled a vacancy, was appointed, he should fill that vacancy for that allotted time. And then, but I understand John's position where he wasn't sure how to do this. And so he tried to make a difference by only going with this term until this new election and then run again. So there wouldn't be any confusion. Unfortunately, that isn't happening.
So to answer your question, Fred, when do we decide to move on? I believe that culture trumps strategy every time. And so no matter what this board comes up with, no matter what policies that we write and regulations we make and what changes we make to this document or that document, as long as we as a community can't quit digging up bones and looking for vengeance and getting even with each other, that's the bottom line. Let's just let it go, learn from our mistakes in the past, and look to the future. I want my kids to have an opportunity to come here and experience what I had. I want my grandkids to come here. I can tell you right now, it won't be here. Happy Trails will not be here if we keep going in the direction we're going. Who wants to buy here when they read Facebook and see all the stuff on there? I mean, let's get real. Let's stop it. Let's move forward, change the culture, stop it blaming each other and shaming each other, and learn to live and listen and love each other and learn from each other. Because everybody here has got a voice, they've got an idea, they've got a way to make the future better for us. Let's fulfill the promises that we heard when we came to Happy Trails, that our investments would be secure, that our lifestyle would be wonderful, that we could have friends and we could have relationships and we could have clubs and we could have activities and we could just run it with joy until the day that we fall dead. And that's what I want. I just want that with all my heart.
Thank you, John. Did we have another one? Yep.
Hi, my name is Jack Beshin from Lot 900. I'd like to move on. I have a specific question for Greg, and this has absolutely nothing to do with your resignation. I could care less. What I am concerned about is the vitriolic assault that you have made last night and today against the president by naming her directly in a nasty attitude and blaming someone who was elected to that position by the members of the board who all voted to give you the option of either resigning
Can
or
you
not.
please stop interrupting?
And I don't care what else go on, but your vitriolic attitude towards a member of the board, especially the president, is really troubling to me. Because you said in your transparency that you're the same person today you were last year, and next year you'll be the same. I sincerely hope it is not the angry individual that's sitting in front of me right now.
Jack, what was your question? Was there a question in there?
My question is, why are you running?
I'm running because I had 760 votes last year. 2/3 of this community voted for me. And that's difficult. And that's 2/3 of the people that trust me. And that's exactly why I'm running again, because they asked me to run again. Okay. And so as far as vitriol, I'm just repeating what Jennifer has said. I am not being vitriolic about it.
Alrighty, next question. We have a couple over here on the side that have not asked before. I've seen your hand up. We'll get to you.
Michelle Kavanaugh, Lot 781. This is actually for you, Greg. I wanted to ask you a question. It was regarding your board liaison with the Landscape Committee. You indicated that you were removed because of an illegal matter, much which I was not aware of. Do you feel your removal as the Landscape Committee Board Liaison for not following the duties of the liaison was appropriate? And could you please explain why or why not?
I wasn't removed as the liaison. When I resigned, that automatically removed me from that committee. And then they would replace me because I was no longer a board member.
All righty. Anybody that hasn't asked a question yet? I do believe we have I know we have one over here. And do we have anything online? No?
Karen Stewart, Lot 1389. Not to beat the current vote to death, I unfortunately feel it's important to make a clarification. I am going to go right where Chuck answered another question, and that is if a mistake is identified, you verify it was a mistake, you be transparent, and then you move forward past that mistake. When in our bylaws and CCNRs, and anybody who wants to come talk to me can, it is clear that it was anticipated by replacements on the board would be done by an election. Now, in the past, we didn't do that. So there was an inconsistency with our bylaws and our CCNRs. So my question to everybody on the board, now that we've realized there's a potential inconsistency with our documents, should precedents prevail, or should we follow our bylaws and CCNRs until a proper unbundled vote can be put to the membership or the owners and let them decide, do we fill to the end of the term or do we fill to the next election? And have an open and honest vote that there are two options, two ways to solve this problem. But in the interim, do we follow our governing documents or precedent, which we've now realized may not be accurate? And I'll turn it over to you to ask the questions of them.
We need to follow the document. That's what it's there for, even though precedent got slipped in. So we do need to follow the document, and this existing board can make a motion to remove this vote before it happens. And I would think that they, with the confusion that's going on, I would think that the existing board would probably want to stop this. This is the type of thing, this is what causes the grief with everybody in the community. It seems sneaky and underhanded, and so let's just stop it and move forward.
Chuck?
I think at this point, we need to, as a board member, to, based on the confusion, to reconvene as a board and make a decision one way or another. And I think that it should be done in an open meeting. It could be an emergency meeting to just address it and have the public there.
I also think that this should be handled now rather than later. We need to get it straightened out. Precedent's a great thing, but precedent doesn't mean it's right.
I agree, there's a lot of confusion, and the confusion needs to be rectified, which, as I said earlier today, meaning at this point, vacate the vote, have a meeting, let everybody understand what's being discussed, what's being voted on, and then have a vote. I don't particularly think it was handled appropriately because there's so many people that are so confused. They have no idea what to vote, and so they don't vote. And that's not appropriate either. So I think, yes, we should back up and think about the process and redo it.
Connie?
Since I'm running for the board and I'm very new at this, I don't know our rules and regulations and our CCNRs and our other documents. I'm not real up on those, but I agree with just about everything Becca said, that we need to pull the 3 issue of voting, and redo it so that everybody has a voice in just one thing at a time, and go from there.
Thank you, Connie. John?
I think that there's no urgency in addressing this these bylaw changes. We made a mistake tying those two together. They should have been separated. That's number one. It's very confusing, number two. So in order for bylaws to be updated, they are updated sort of in a cycle. And my thought is that this board ought to consider and probably decide to put these two questions on the regular cycle of updating the bylaws in the future, because there's no purpose in trying to make a decision now when there's so much confusion and we don't have time to react before the actual board election. And that's where some of the confusion comes in. So I would personally recommend that we place those two, I think there's only two questions that we're voting on the agenda for the next update for the bylaws, and not address them now. Stop that vote and proceed on with the election.
Thank you, John.
Michelle Stolz, Lot 444. I do want to express my appreciation for every board member, every candidate up there last night being willing to say that they thought we should vacate the vote due to all of the discrepancies that are occurring right now with this vote. But I would like now to ask each of you to give me your personal opinion on what I see to be the 2 alternatives between how this goes out. Alternative number 1 is the paragraph that states the director will be appointed by the board and then serve only until the next election, and then become duly qualified, which I interpret to mean till the people get to vote in who they want for a director, versus alternative 2, which is when that occurs, they make an appointment and they serve out the remainder of the term. And I would say that in favor, what seems to be the most favor in that one is to say, because that allows continuity of experience on the board. Which way would you say you feel is the more appropriate way for us to be handling these vacancies in the future?
That was for all the board, or all candidates, I'm sorry.
Follow the existing bylaws. And we don't even need to change the bylaw. It's not necessary to change it. It's already there. It's already written. Stop changing the bylaws. We have it written now. And so that's my personal opinion on that. 1.
Personal opinion, the first one.
First one for me.
I'm going to be the naysayer. I think I am concerned about continuity on the board. And if we can come with up with a different way to do that, that's fine. But if we cannot control who's going to resign, who's going to get ill, who may pass away, and we have to replace that board member, the only way to keep continuity, which we just went through this process to maintain continuity on the board is to let whoever is appointed serve the remainder of whoever resigns term. So if we can come up with another way, I'm all for it, but I don't see another way right now that that could happen.
Thank you, Becca. Connie? Connie?
I think that we should follow the rules, and whatever our rules are, we should follow that. And I've said over and over that I think that the person that is appointed should stay until that term is completed.
Oh. Thank you, Connie. John?
So let me read you section 4, the vacancies, as it reads. Vacancies on the board of directors caused by any reason shall be filled by vote of the majority of the remaining directors, even though less than a quorum, comma, or by the remaining director if there's only one, comma, and each person so elected shall be a director until his successor is duly elected by the owners of and shall qualify. So when he or she is placed in that position, they are filling the position of the person that they are appointed to fill. And it goes for the full term. It's not up for vote at the next election. That's the way I read it. But you can read it two different ways. And that's why it's important that we address this as a community to clarify it and make sure that our bylaws are understood and unambiguous, because if you can read this two different ways, I mean, you know, 4 people can read something and come up with 6 different views. So it needs to be clearer.
Thank you. Well, thank you, John.
Terry Walters, again, 497. I'm not doubting that, but what document are you reading? Are you reading the rule? Are you reading the CCNRs?
No, I'm reading the bylaws.
Okay,
that were
the
approved
problem
in
with that
22.
is somewhere on the bottom of the bylaws, it says if there's any discrepancies, the CCNR rules. So the CCNR's rules, that's the top document. You got 4 other documents underneath there. If there's a violation, it's settled by the CCNRs, unless you're going to amend the CCNRs. So there's 2 languages in there. I agree with you. But right now, you have a term that does not expire for another 1 or 2 years.
Is there a
So
question?
you should not be running.
Is there a question? Thank you. I believe we have someone with a new question over here, someone that hasn't asked before. And I know we have one in the back as well.
My name is Mel Hinterlong. Lot 365. I have an opinion on that, and I want to know if you agree with it. Number one is we got a rule that says what we should do and why we do it. Number one is when a board appoints another individual, they have scanned not only the past election, but anyone they believe in a majority that would be best for the board. That makes sense to me. It's no different than when the city changes my setback line. They say that my setback line has got to come closer to my home. I was grandfathered. I don't need to change that setback line. And so if you don't agree with what the rules are, then we move forward to decide if we're going to change it. I think we should move ahead with what is written and consider it a grandfathered clause.
Is there a question? Is there a question for the candidates?
If there's agreement to that, or
Okay.
where you say, I know, Becky, you talk about continuity. That is important. You don't want a new board that has no experience. But also, we've got a rule. Why do we think that we can change that rule now? I don't understand it, unless we go through the process to change it. So do you agree?
Is this for all the board or directed
Yes.
toward one? Okay. All right, all the candidates, I'm sorry. That was directed to all the candidates.
Again, I think that we should stick with the existing rules.
Chuck?
I think that we should also extend the existing rules and do what John said and actually take the time to write it properly.
Terry?
Continuity is a good thing, but how do we get more people involved to actually take these positions if you don't give them a shot? And give the community as a whole to elect them.
Becca?
I'll just stand by what I said before. Continuity is very important, and we need to keep the rule that's in place that provides that continuity for the entire board. For, if we keep going the way we're going, it will always have continuity. If we change the rules, there's no guarantee.
I think that we should follow the rules as they're written now. If we don't like them, go through the process of changing the rule.
Thank you. John?
I think we should interpret the rules the way that previous boards have interpreted rules and set precedent in their determinations. That's just the way I feel. I'm just past president of a board, and we made the mistake of changing the cycle of elections to that board. And we just had an election where we had to elect all 4 officers in one time. And so the continuity just totally broke down. So, when you look back at this from 5 years from now, what we do in the next few weeks is important. It's not about personalities or who's on the board. It's not about removing and replacing people on the board to put who you want on the board. It's about setting a precedent for the future so that we have continuity on the board and the board can work together based on, like Connie said, when I come on the board as a new board member, I'm kind of looking to the people who've been on the board for their experience. And I give them the benefit of the doubt. If you don't have that, if you have all new members showing up, that's chaos. We need some continuity and we need some clarity and we need to come together as a community and figure out how to do this together.
Thank you, John.
Jerry Yak again, 1121. Oh, okay, like that? Okay, got it. Several points. One, I'm just going to make a comment and there is a question. It says in the bylaws that were just read, shall be a director until his successor is duly elected by the owners and shall qualify. That is verbatim state language. It's boilerplate. It's in the state laws. It's exactly how it's said in the state. If you want it to read more reader friendly, then you change it. I think that one of the points that is totally being missed is why these bylaws are being voted on right now, this minute, shoved ahead of the election. And that's because I got an email in December quoting the changed bylaws as already in effect. So I think that everyone here needs to know that the board has been running on the already changed bylaws since last summer. and that they are looking, if you look at the advertisement that went out when Greg came off the board, it had the verbatim bylaws that you are reading today.
Was there a
But-
question for the candidates?
Yes, I want to know, when it comes to state statute versus the language that you think, you've been running on the board has been running on a fake set of bylaws. Does state statute take precedent over whatever the CCNRs or the bylaws?
And
Are they willing to go with state statute?
Is that to all the candidates?
All candidates.
Okay.
Well, it's my understanding that the CCNRs is our constitution, but if there's a problem with the CCNRs, it's my understanding that state statute is what you follow. I'm not an attorney. I don't know.
Thank you, Greg. Chuck?
Well, I mean, yeah, state statute always overrides the CCNRs unless it's duly noted that the CCNRs or the governing documents of an HOA have listed there in the state says that unless it's written in the HOAs. So yeah, I mean, I'm learning all about the state statutes from the class that I'm taking, and that's basically how it goes.
Thank you, Chuck. Terry?
Yeah, state statute should have precedent. They set the rules on how all HOAs operate. So if you're not following the state statutes, you're not doing it right.
I agree. State statute trumps any documents that we have. That is at the top of the list for our marching orders, so to speak, the rules and regs that we have to follow.
I agree. We should stay with the state statutes.
State statute will trump our governing documents, but we need to verify that word-to-word comparison with those and not just take people's word for it. So let's do some homework.
All right. Well, I want to appreciate everyone for coming out. We got time for one more. We're almost on our third hour here.
Thank you. Mickey Aston, Lot 13. I agree with what was said about moving on. I would love nothing more than to move on from our past. And I have a long past here, as you all know. This has to do with communication. I'd like to direct it towards John because he is our communication liaison. But I'd like everybody from Connie, Becca, down to Greg to also have their input into this. We do go to Facebook because it is one of our only forms of communication. When owners no longer feel silenced and when we do become part of the decisions being made, we will move on. There's contradictory action and reprimand when 2 board members went to the branch to speak to the owners. I believe it was John who told them they shouldn't have done that. I have known of reprimand, I think again from John, when the board members did not vote in unison, when they did not follow the leader. I appreciate when someone has their own opinions and they've done their research and they don't go along, but they ask the difficult questions and they vote in opposition or abstain when they need more information. We have no speaking ability with the board. We've been told point blank by the president, we cannot speak to you. I don't believe that. I mean, I don't uphold that. We can't email the board. I have a question.
Can we get to it?
I will get to it because I'm ready to leave. No emails to the board, no replies from Darlene. It takes a very long time to get a reply. Hold on, I got my notes. If anybody else has asked the question that I asked, I don't get an answer because it's already been answered to somebody else and I feel like I'm being ignored. John, you are the liaison for Communications Committee. What have you done to improve communication and involvement of owners and to make us feel part of the decision-making process going forward? I know that we elect a board and we trust them to act in our favor and in the best interest of the community. What do you have planned for communication and involvement of the owners to make us feel part of what's going on here in the future of Happy Trails? And John, if we could do that, and Connie and Becca. Thank you.
So that was just directed to clarify to John, Connie, and Becca.
No, all the way down the line to Greg.
So all the candidates, go ahead.
Thank you, Mickey, for those 25 questions. I don't know which one to answer, so let me just say that the Communications Committee has struggled to figure out how to open up two-way communications in our community. And they got a lot of pushback when they took some action to get some things going. As to your reference to the meeting that happened in the ranch, I don't think that it's a good idea for two members to go representing the board. That should be an open meeting. Now, you can go and listen and you can invite people to express themselves, but the way that was all handled was kind of awkward, and it felt like it was the board was showing up to give you answers to your dilemma. So I believe that it's critical that everybody look at what we do and how we do it and what the results were and how can we improve. So debriefing board meetings and executive meetings, but I can't bring up, I don't want to go there. But if debriefing board meetings is very instructive, because then you can analyze, well, why didn't we pass any motions? Why weren't any decisions made? Why did we have to backtrack on decisions that we made about approving committees, charters, and mission statements? And walk all of those back and send them back to the committees. So as a board, we're accountable, and we're accountable for your time. And when you come to a board meeting, you should expect us to be prepared to make decisions or tell you why we can't make decisions, and not tell you that we can't because we don't have enough documentation or kick the thing back to the committees. It's very discouraging for the committees. So I'm running out of time here, but debriefing is very important because you don't really get better unless you realize what you did wrong and what you did right. And if you're not strong enough and courageous enough to look at what you did and what you didn't do, then you're not ever going to get any better.
Thank you, John. Connie, we'll go down the line.
I'm not informed well enough about the situations, so I'm going to abstain.
Becca.
I don't know about the situations either, but I would like to see communication better. We've got to find a methodology, a venue, whatever you want to call it, something to improve communication. There is no doubt about that. And I'm not exactly sure how that should happen, but I do know we didn't have a communication committee for a very long time. Now that we have one, I'm hopeful that they will come up with some ideas that help us communicate with one another.
Terry?
More communication. We need to have, we're listening meetings again. We haven't had them so long. We come to a board meeting, we don't know what's going on. We don't get the information of what's going on at that meeting until a couple of days prior. If we go look at it in the office, it should be posted.
Thank you, Terry. Chuck?
I believe that all meetings should be posted. I mean, like I said, I've come from the government agency, the background information. So when a resident comes up and asks the questions, they're asking the appropriate questions. I'm not a firm believer in debriefing because sometimes debriefing is only by one person's opinion and not by the group. If they meet together as a group and talk about it, it's not a debriefing. I just believe that it should be as a group and in a public setting and not by one person.
Thank you, Chuck. Greg?
Well, I'm all for the members have the ability to speak to directors and for directors to take their time to go to a community and listen to what they have to say so that they can bring that information back to the board. Nobody's making decisions. It's just open communication. And if you get, and the biggest complaint I hear is I get 2 minutes once a month. And so the members and board members, we all live together and there shouldn't be a separation between us.
Thank you, Greg, very much. I want to thank everyone who showed up and participated. We appreciate it. And also a round of applause for the candidates. We know you take time and volunteer for this, and it's much appreciated. Thank you guys very much. We will have more information coming up. Of course, the election is scheduled for February, and you will see more documentation coming out. Thank you guys, and have a wonderful night. Yes, sir.